Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Empowered Self podcast with me, Krystal. And today I'm diving into a topic that feels more relevant than ever. The importance of self-care, taking breaks and creating mindful moments in a world that constantly pushes us to grind harder, run faster, and produce more. If you're listening on your commute or while folding the laundry or sipping a coffee that went cold about 40 minutes ago, I see you. This episode is for you. Before we start, as always, I want to invite you into a small pause. Not a grand spiritual retreat, just one deep breath. Wherever you are, soften your shoulders, unclench your jaw, take a slow inhale through your nose and let it go. There you go. And we're off to a good start. Self-care gets thrown around a lot. It's become a buzzword on mugs and tote bags, Instagram tiles, bubble baths, candles, face masks, and so much more. And look, I do love a scented candle as much as the next person, but that is just one tiny slice of a much bigger picture. Self-care is not self-indulgence. It's not selfishness. And it's definitely not something you earn after being exhausted. At its core, self-care is energy management, nervous system regulation, emotional hygiene, boundary setting, asking for help, and most importantly, listening to the signals of your body. Audre Lorde said it beautifully. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. I think that lands even harder today than when she first said it originally. Because here's the truth. We cannot constantly pour out without replenishing our cups. We're not meant to operate like machines. Even machines do overheat. And their solution? Well, they shut off and stop working. And guess what? Humans do too. Except when we shut off, we call it burnout, numbness, anxiety, irritability, lack of motivation, or that infamous Sunday fear that shows up before a new week. Self-care is how we prevent that shutdown. It is how we maintain presence, agency, and joy in our lives. Let's talk a little bit about the nervous system, because this is where things get fascinating. Our bodies are wired for survival, not happiness. The brain has one big job to do, to keep us alive. So when life gets overwhelming, deadlines, responsibilities, parenting, caregiving, bills, inboxes that resemble landfill sites, the brain interprets that as a threat. Stress chemicals flood the system. The cortisol, adrenaline, and more. These gear us up for action, the classic fight or flight response. It's great for escaping tigers, but it's less useful for answering emails. When these chemicals are circulating all day, every day, without proper recovery, the body enters what neuroscientist Dr. Bruce McEwen calls allostatic load, the biological wear and tear from chronic stress. Allostatic load affects our sleep, digestion, immune function, hormones, mood, focus, and memory. This is why after a long period of being on, you might get sick on your holidays or feel foggy or struggle to make even simple decisions like what to eat for dinner. That's the allostatic load talking. Here's where self-care comes in. It reduces that load. It signals to the brain that we're not under threat. It downregulates the stress response and brings the nervous system back into what polyvagal theory calls the ventral vagal state, the place of safety, social connection, creativity, and emotional regulation. This is why after a walk, a warm shower, or talking to a friend, or listening to music, you suddenly feel more human again. It's not magic, it's biology. Dr. Stephen Porges, who developed polyvagal theory, explains that our nervous system is constantly scanning for danger or safety. And self-care practices are cues of safety. These cues can be warmth, nature, eye contact, laughter, slow breathing, community, music, rest. Meanwhile, however, hustle culture gives us the complete opposite. Urgency, scarcity, comparison, and overstimulation. It's no wonder we're all exhausted. We live in a society that celebrates exhaustion. You've heard the phrases: rise and grind, sleep when you're dead, hustle harder. If you're not busy, you're not trying. And somewhere along the way, we equated worth with productivity. We stopped asking, how are you? And instead we ask, what are you working on? But productivity without presence becomes empty, and hustle without rest becomes harm. There's a quote by the writer Brianna Wiest that I love. Life is not an emergency, but we behave as if it is. Research even backs this up. Studies from Stanford University show that after about 55 hours per week, productivity just doesn't plateau. It declines sharply. Past that point, more time equals worse output. And yet, we pride ourselves on pushing past the point of usefulness. Sometimes the bravest thing in a hustle culture is to say, I'm taking a break, or I need rest, or even no. Boundaries are a form of self-care too. This brings me to something really important: breaks. I'm not talking about dramatic 10-day silent retreats in the mountains, although if that is your thing, go live your best monastery life. I'm talking about small, bite-sized, real-life pauses. Because here's the thing. Our nervous system doesn't need 8 hours of reset all at once. It needs sprinkles of regulation throughout the day. This is also supported by research on ultradian rhythms, cycles of energy that last about 90 minutes. After each cycle, the brain needs a brief rest to maintain performance. This rest could be 3 minutes of breathing, stepping outside for fresh air, closing your eyes for 30 seconds, a few stretches, drinking water slowly, listening to one song without multitasking, looking out a window at something far away. When we take these micro breaks, we regulate the nervous system, improve memory consolidation, reduce cortisol, and boost our mood. There is also the concept of attention restoration theory from environmental psychology, which showed that time in nature, even 10 minutes, restores mental bandwidth and improves executive function. Students who walked in a park performed better on memory and attention tasks than those who walked in the city. Nature literally resets our brains. Another fascinating piece I came across comes from the concept of neuroplasticity. Our brain rewires based on what we repeatedly do. So when we repeatedly pause, breathe, and rest, we strengthen the neural circuits for regulation and presence. When we repeatedly rush and multitask, we strengthen circuits for stress and urgency. This is why the idea of mindful micro moments is so powerful. A mindful moment can be feeling your feet on the floor, savoring a sip of tea or coffee, noticing the warmth of sunlight, taking 3 conscious breaths, hearing birds or rain, pausing before replying to a message. These tiny practices are like nervous system vitamins. They build resilience quietly over time. There's a lovely line from Thich Nhat Hanh that says, "Smile, breathe, and go slowly." Simple, soft, but radical. Let's talk about what happens when we don't pause. When we push through exhaustion, we ignore our signals, say yes when we mean no, squeeze ourselves into time slots, overcommit, overgive, overperform. The body does indeed keep the score. What we might notice is irritability, anxiety, sleep problems, digestive issues, tension headaches, brain fog, low motivation, emotional numbness, and feeling disconnected from joy. Sometimes the cost of hustle is subtle. We lose our creativity, we lose our imagination, we lose that feeling of being alive. Self-care brings us back to ourselves. It reminds us that we are not machines, that our value is not in our output, that rest is not laziness, it's strategy. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman talks a lot about the basics: sleep, sunlight, nutrition, movement, social connection as the foundations of mental health. He calls them fundamentals, not luxuries. When we ignore these, the body will eventually force us to stop through illness, burnout, or shutdown. Breaks are not a cost to your productivity. They are a requirement for it. So, I want to ask you something gently. When was the last time you paused, really paused, without checking your phone or your inbox or your calendar? When was the last time you asked your body, what do you need? When was the last time you treated yourself as kindly as you treated people you love or like a friend? Because here's the thing, folks. Self-care is not reserved for weekends or holidays or when you crash. It belongs in the ordinary moments of Tuesday afternoons, Thursday mornings, Sunday evenings, and etc. Maybe you're someone who finds stillness terrifying because you're so used to the background hum of chaos. If that's you, I want to say you're not alone. Many people, including myself, use hustle as a shield. Stillness requires confronting feelings, needs, and limits. And that takes courage, but it's worth it. Tara Brach has a beautiful line. What if, in this moment, you allowed yourself to feel you are enough? I'll repeat that. Tara Brach has a beautiful line that says, what if, in this moment, you allowed yourself to feel that you are enough? Imagine how different our world would be if more people believed that. This is exactly why I created the Sunday Reset Rituals, not as another productivity hack, but as a weekly nervous system reset. As a gentle, accessible ritual to slow down, check in, reflect, release, and realign. Some Sundays we'll breathe. Some Sundays we'll journal. Some Sundays we'll visualize. Some Sundays we'll set gentle intentions. Some Sundays we learn a little neuroscience. Some Sundays might just be about resting in awareness. And some Sundays we'll have guest wellness practitioners to give us a live demonstration. Think of it as a weekly act of rebellion against the burnout culture. A way to say, I'm not built for constant grind. I deserve space, I deserve nourishment, and I deserve to come home to myself. And that's what self-care is at the end of the day. Coming home to yourself. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one small practice you can take into your day. It's called the 30-second pause. Here's how it works. Stop whatever you're doing. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Inhale slowly through the nose for 4 seconds. And exhale slowly for 6. Notice one physical sensation. Notice one emotion, or thought. That's it. 30 seconds, no candles required unless you want to. And if you do that 2 or 3 times a day, your nervous system will start to thank you. And if nobody has told you this recently, you're doing enough. You survived every single hard day so far. You are worthy of rest, care, and joy. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'll see you Wednesday, 2 weeks. And I'd love if you join me for our first Sunday reset ritual this weekend. Until then, breathe, slow down, and go gently. Take care.